everyone, and welcome back to Two Sinners on a Sunday. We are excited to keep spilling tea and having these kinds of conversations with you that all of you join us for, and we hope to deliver every single time. And yeah, welcome.
Indeed. Welcome. Hasadiga Iboai, everyone, as usual. I'm
Mhm.
excited to delve deeper into increasing my knowledge of the Book of Mormon and all the aspects around the gospel essay topics, and also more secrets and more things that I didn't know, and maybe you didn't
Yeah,
know as
yeah.
well. So I'm excited. Last time we tackled the Book of Mormon, we had a look at the origins and the story surrounding it and the changes, the peepstone,
Mhm.
the hat, the plates, and that was very interesting. So today we're going to dig in further, Ali.
Yeah. Today, we're going to tackle the Book of Abraham. And to your point, a lot of people, even in the faith, believers that are listening to this, have not even heard about some of the things that we've
Wow.
been talking about, these secrets, the spilling of the tea. All of it is sometimes also very new to a believer who's been in the faith
Hmm.
their entire lives. So, the multiple accounts of the first vision, that is very much new information for a lot of people. Even how the Book of Mormon truly was translated, the rock and the
Right.
hat, these are relatively new pieces of information that, although circulated as secrets for so many years in the ex-Mormon community, they've only been confirmed in the past decade
Right.
by the church through the gospel topic essays and through the revelations that they have finally had their hands forced to produce. And so today's no different. We're just going to talk about the book of Abraham as we continue to build off of these gospel topic essays and addressing what's really going on.
If I understand correctly, the Book of Abraham is not the Book of Mormon.
Correct.
It's
Yeah.
outside of the Book of
Yes.
Mormon. It's
Yeah.
like additional
So
sources to validate the Book of Mormon.
well, not really.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I mean, everything is going to validate itself
Of
because
course.
that's what Joseph was all about. He really just wanted people to respect him and acknowledge him as a prophet, seer, and revelator, a translator of, these ancient texts. And so, but the Book of Mormon, to answer your question, is its own standalone
Right.
book. And then we have the Doctrine and Covenants, which is more of a history, a record of those early years in the faith, very much almost like a journaling of day to day work with Joseph
Hmm.
Smith. Then we have the Pearl of Great Price. And in that, we have the Book of Abraham, but then we also have his beginnings of translating the Bible correctly. And so
Okay.
basically, his task, what he had hoped to do, was to create his own version of the Old and New Testament. Just like we have the King James translation, he wanted the Joseph Smith translation. And in our faith, we call it the
Ah.
inspired translation
Oh,
because
wow. Okay.
obviously,
Finally.
exactly, because what he was selling was that God spoke directly to him
Hmm.
through this rock and a hat. So obviously, what God was giving to him was the correct matter
Yeah.
and not something that would ever be scrutinized or be wrong. It was the most authentic, the most pure production that's ever been known to man because it was going straight from God to its translator, to its scribe. So, yeah, even using the term translating, we've now established that that's not what he was doing. He was just dictating what God was showing him on this rock in a hat.
Right.
So, can you have a more pure communication than that? So,
Right. I mean, it's coming directly from God. So
that's right.
there's
Mhm.
what could be the need to challenge it.
Some story time. And so this is 1835, okay? You can picture a small frontier town buzzing with curiosity. There's this traveling showman, okay? His name was Michael Chandler, and he arrives in Kirtland, Ohio, where the Saints are currently living. And he comes and he brings with him mummies. mummies from Egypt, Evans. This
Ah,
was really like a circus act or whatever. It was a curiosity, a novelty that he was presenting town to town and saying,
okay.
hey, come pay me this amount and I will show you these Egyptian mummies. How cool is that? And this was a time when entertainment, this was its main form. Somebody comes to town with something new and interesting. You pay the whatever amount that was asked for, and you got to go in and see whether it was, a bearded lady or a monkey riding a tricycle or something like that. This is how they found entertainment. So he presents these mummies and he presents rolls of papyrus. And so these are
Ah,
just like so cool, so unique for them. And other excavations from Egypt that he was able to bring. So these are exotic relics, and everybody was fascinated by them. And then we have Joseph Smith who steps forward. Okay. He basically says, may I look at the papyri? He makes the claim that, oh my goodness, these aren't just any papyri. These contain the writings of Abraham and Joseph of Egypt.
wait.
It's two different accounts,
What?
There's two scrolls. There's two
Okay.
scrolls. One scroll is the writing of Abraham, and the other one is of Joseph of Egypt.
Why Joseph? That's crazy. Okay, I mean, I get why he would say Joseph because of the whole Egypt
Hmm.
scenario, but then
Yeah.
Abraham? Why would Abraham's scroll come from Egypt?
Well, nobody at that time had what we have now, the education level or the
Hmm.
understanding of certain things. This is why it was believed that Masonry went all the way back to the times of Solomon. We know better now
Okay.
because of records and data and everything that
But
we have
even
on the internet.
even just basing it on the Bible, the links that Abraham has with Egypt are few and far between. He has about two relations in Abraham, one where he lied about his sister wife to I think Abimelech was the pharaoh at that time, and then
Okay,
God intoxicates
that's
him and his
right.
family. And then the second time is when he's actually, I think that was the only time, really. The second time, the person I'm thinking of is Jacob, who dies in Egypt. And then his
Okay.
children, Israel, stays in Egypt, including Joseph,
Yeah.
because of Joseph.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
Israel, and that's how the whole story of the Exodus comes about. Abraham really encounters and stays in Egypt for one night, one day,
Mm-hmm.
one
Mm-hmm.
moment, one story.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
he wrote a whole storyline from Egypt in
Yeah.
Egyptian language, I guess, I imagine. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the members, they pulled together $2,400, which at the time
Oh, wow.
was an
That
astronomical
is,
amount.
yes. This is what, the
And
1800s?
this is 1835. Yeah.
So that would probably be around a hundred
Yeah.
thousand amount,
I
a
had
hundred
wanted to
thousand
do a
worth.
quick search. 2,400. I'll keep telling the story,
Mm,
but basically he says I can translate these because I'm a prophet. I'm a translator. What I need you members to do is pool this money together so that I can purchase them from this man. I think that this is going to provide us more light and knowledge that we need
okay.
to further this work. So, what'd you find?
Interesting. So yeah, 2,400 in the 1800s would be equivalent to $61,532 today.
I mean
That
that's a lot.
that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money in my books. Wow.
I can only imagine what a hardship that would have been to collect that kind of money.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so here we go. We have now the Book of Abraham, where he is translating it off of this papyri and coming up with the premortal existence, the council in heaven, Kolob, the star nearest to God. That's where we get Kolob.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Okay.
So these are some of the
Wow.
things that are being shared in this papyri. And to the followers, it's breathtaking and it's proof once again that Joseph is a prophet and a translator and a seer.
Okay, so let me summarize what's happened from my understanding.
Yeah,
A stranger comes in the town, kind of like in a traveling showman outlook,
exactly. Hmm.
and he comes in with us. I don't know how they're called, the tombs that the mummies are in. I don't know what I.
Sure. Like a
Yeah,
casket.
yeah, like a casket.
Well,
There's
but
a specific name for it,
there
something
is,
phagos,
right?
sarcophagus, or something like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and
I
then
think that's exactly it.
right, and then the mummies are buried in there, right, with all the
Right.
bandages around
Yeah.
them. And then there are these two scrolls that are alongside him. And then he is obviously proclaiming his voice to come and see these wonderful things, pay and come and see
Hmm.
these things. And Joseph Smith, the prophet of God, steps forward and be like, what thee bring to us,
Hmm.
speaking in King James language, right?
Right.
And
Yes.
and then he says, "Behold, I have these two scrolls," and he's like, "Oh, behold, I therefore decree and declare that these are the scrolls of Abraham and Joseph." And
That's
and then
right.
and then he raises an amount of money to
That's right.
purchase these scrolls.
That's right. So that then he has them and he can author the Book of Abraham and he can start the work of translation for the next phase of the indoctrination that he wants to
So
create.
then this would then be the first official attempt at translation from Joseph Smith. This would be the first official attempt from one language to another.
That's right. And
Right.
this is one
Okay.
that people are actually able to see.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the Book of Mormon, like I said, that was always hidden. The
Mm,
plates were always covered. At the completion of the translation of the Book of Mormon, the angel Moroni comes back down and collects those plates and brings them back up to heaven.
mm.
So they are not on this earth, and nobody can really question him because they are gone back to heaven. And
Right.
while this papyri is being shown and seen, and he's making a big claim now, and he's just taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's very interesting. I wonder how he's going to spin the story as to where they came from because he bought it from a merchant
that's
and then say,
right.
"Oh, you happen to come by this special information that's being revealed by God, but you just a random merchant just happened to come by it, and I happen to be the
Yeah.
one that steps forward to buy it, and it happens to be the one that I need to bolster up my position as a prophet." Like, wow, what a
How fortunate.
coincidence!
Clearly, God's hand is in all of this,
Clearly,
Evans.
clearly,
Yeah.
God led the merchants to Joseph Smith. Right.
That's right. And who could challenge him? Who could challenge him? Because in 1835, no one in America could read Egyptian.
Right.
So that's why.
Right.
That's why this was a golden opportunity
Yeah.
for him. And again, this man, I can't believe that he was thinking of this becoming the organization, the institution that it is today. I
Mm.
am certain that he was like, kind of like, the ends justify the means. I
Yeah.
am going to, do and say whatever I need for my profit today.
Yeah.
Never did he think this was going to carry on past his own death. It was just a matter of getting his followers to believe in him so that his life could be comfortable and he could be adored and worshiped and revered. Yeah,
I
never was
think
he thinking, well, one day Egyptologists are going to find this papyri and are going to,
But I
you know,
think even now when he, let's say he comes back from the dead, he would be very
sure.
proud as to what he has been able to achieve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of
Yeah.
course, there's his pride and ego involved in this.
Hmm.
He wants to create something that is remarkable, but I also don't think that he had enough bandwidth to think, hey, somebody might one day fact check this. He never probably thought that, and I honestly feel even the Mormon faith in recent years, before the internet became what it is,
Mm,
did they think
yeah.
that it would get exposed the way that it has? Just like Joseph Fielding Smith, by taking a knife and cutting out those pages out of Joseph's journal,
Yeah.
he probably never thought anybody would come to find them. That was my point, is that's our
Yeah.
human instinct, is to hide
Yeah.
our and to obscure things. And
Yeah.
that is what seems to be the trajectory until We can't anymore until somebody says, where are the missing pages? Where is the rock that he used?
Yeah.
We can't keep lying. And then the vaults open, Evans,
Hmm.
and then the truth comes out.
Yeah.
Truth
And
always comes out.
yeah. But then that's why you have apologetics. That's why
And
apologetics exists.
that's right. And the church pays them handsomely.
Oh,
So,
wow. Really?
yeah.
I should be an apologetic. An apologist. A Mormon apologist. I hope they
Yeah.
pay me well. Ooh, a black Mormon apologist at that too. Ooh,
Wow.
that
Yeah,
would
they'll
be.
have you day one
Oh,
tackling,
wow.
yeah, tackling the whole racism and the
Yeah, they would
priesthood
be like,
ban and
no, like,
everything.
no, 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 no. This was the plan all along. 1978.
That's
What
right.
is that?
Yeah, I'm going to go back a little bit more. So, what happens to the papyri after they get translated? Apparently, from what I recall, Emma, Joseph's wife, after his passing, she had possession of them. And at one point or another, I believe she donates them to a museum, but they kind of get lost. And for a long, long time, we were led to believe that they were donated, and the place where they were donated, the museum where they were donated, there was a fire
Oh,
and they were lost in that fire. And that's what, again, was believed. So, again, here we have this work where so many people believe in it and believe that the book of Abraham is a book from God, or at least from one of God's anointed. Yet, again, just like the Book of Mormon, the golden plates being lifted back up to heaven, we've now lost any
mm,
material evidence of their existence.
wow.
But
Okay.
like I
Mm-hmm.
said, going forward to 1967, the unthinkable happens, and the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York found these papyri. And for the first time, these Egyptologists, who this
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
1967, for goodness sakes, we now can read Egyptian. And not only that, but scholars are very well versed and
Mm,
educated in Egyptian knowledge and culture and everything. And so
mm-hmm.
now we have a new revelation, and it's not a good one. It is not favorable to this account of the Mormon faith.
Okay.
And basically, what is found is that everything that's in these papyri are funerary texts out of the Book of Breathings. They are written as a guide for this dead person in Egypt to navigate into the afterlife. The date, the carbon dating of these papyri does not go back to Abraham's time, but it's first century. And here's why it's a problem. It's a problem because Joseph makes the claim, and it's written right at the beginning of the book of Abraham, and he states, Abraham, it was a record written by Abraham by his own hand upon papyrus. There's no wiggle room here.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham got his scroll and he began writing in his own hand. This is him. And Joseph took this papyrus and and translated it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we can go into the fact that back in those times, Abraham would not have been writing in King James English. He would not have been writing in full and complete sentences. He would not have been communicating his thoughts the way that Joseph translated. So already that's anachronistic and falls apart.
We don't know whether they wrote anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Was it just very much hieroglyphics? Was it just each character was a concept? How can we really have this book? It's
Yeah.
just anachronistic.
We're talking about a group of people, and this is the thing that it's very helpful for Christians and for Mormons and everyone to really understand how things looked from the Jewish perspective at this time. This story that we're talking about, this is a group
Yeah.
of people that leave marks in where they go by building altars,
Hmm.
and that altar will be given a name, and that name will be given to the land, whoever dominates that place. And then they also instill their territory by building wells, and that well will be named, and that name will be given to their children, and that name will eventually be the name of the land. And this is how these people were leaving their marks. They were not writing shit down.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not how they were
Exactly.
living. They were
That's
living,
not,
they were living by
no,
symbols, they were living by stones, they
that's
were
right.
living by, that's how they were living.
Rituals,
Rituals.
and
Right.
they were dancing to get the rain. They were
Yes.
singing to get what other miracle they were hoping for. And they also had
Yeah.
multiple gods. Many
Oh
of
yeah.
them at this time, it was a matter of trying to figure out, there's the agricultural god, please bless us with this.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah. And that's the thing, is like, if you're a Christian and you care about what's true, just look at the Canaanite religions, because the Canaanite religion also includes the Israelites religion. If you really want to understand the origins of Christianity and thereby also understand why Mormonism is Mormonism, you need to understand these people that you guys are so impressed by. You need to
yeah.
understand who Abraham was. And it's
Yeah.
like the average Christian knows only a few things about Abraham, who his wife was, the sacrifice that he had with Isaac, and all of these things. But if you ask them, okay, but who was he though? Like where did he come from? What was his culture? What was the things that he do? What type of food did he eat? You guys are making life decisions by these people. Like, I was talking to
That's
one
right.
of my friends yesterday, and he's gone in and he was telling me about the reasons why he do something by quoting something that the Jews did. And I'm like, you are an African born in Ghana in the UK right now, telling me the reason why you do something is because, like, huh? Do you know these people? Do you care about their culture in any way? They don't. Bringing it back to them writing stuff, we don't know whether they did or not is unfalsifiable. We don't know whether we are not saying that they wrote or they didn't write. We just don't know. The earliest form of civilization and any records was from Egypt. That's what we know. And that is
Yeah.
later in the time, during the time of like
And they
Ramses and
didn't,
stuff like that.
yeah,
So,
in Joseph's ignorance, he made it sound as if they were writing, because when he read the Bible,
mhm.
he thought this was original script. He
Yeah.
didn't know what we know now. And so for him, he was like, well, if they were writing like this in Jesus's time,
Mhm.
then I'm going to just kind of continue that way.
Yeah.
I don't even think he understood that the King James Version was its own version, and that there were multiple versions, and
Mm.
that different ways of introducing the concepts that we find in the Bible. You go to Italy, and many don't even read the King James versions. They have I don't remember exactly which one, but this shows more now
Mhm.
his ignorance. But at the time, they didn't
Yeah.
have that information. So
Yeah.
they took it at face value
Yeah,
and portrayed it as that.
if you think about it, most people were Catholics. If you were Christian, most people were Catholics. The Protestants were very much, later it
Mm,
was still very new, even in the 1800s
hmm.
and the 1900s.
Yeah.
It was still very
Yeah.
new from in the context, right? So it's like
Yeah.
reading the Bible was like an afterthought. Like, there are so many reasons why people were Christians other than reading the Bible. Like, reading
Right.
the Bible was not even a thing that people cared about reading. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just an object of worship. It was kind of like something that they respected, they revered, and also not everybody had the Bible in their closet. It's just such a very limited view of what we think people when, and it is, no surprise that he also thought, Joseph Smith, in his time, that he projected his understanding of how people communicated and understood things to Abraham and projected on them to say, oh, okay, they must
That's
have been writing
right.
stuff. And just as
That's
we
right.
do, right? They must have been speaking just as we
Yes.
do.
Yeah.
So it's like,
They must be.
yeah,
Exactly. With no concepts or knowledge that in taking the Book of Mormon, Native American cultures would not have been speaking that way at
no,
that time, would not have been holding and carrying records
yeah,
like that. That
yeah,
wasn't a thing.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's a product of where he was at.
I have a question.
And yeah,
Why was it just limited to the book of Abraham? Because he sees the papyri and he claims that it's both Abraham and of Joseph.
yeah.
Why don't we have the book of Joseph?
I cannot remember exactly
Okay.
what happened there. I think he only got through the book of Abraham, and I think he was assassinated before
Oh,
he could tackle the book of Joseph. But this is where I love to engage our listeners with our conversation. So anyone that knows about the book of Joseph, exactly why that one didn't come to fruition, I would love to know that.
okay.
But my limited recall was that he just didn't get to it, and he got
Okay.
as far as the Book of Abraham.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll be interested in finding out what happened, because I mean,
Yeah.
if he was able to pass down his mantle to someone else, why wouldn't he be able to
Well,
pass down the mantle of translating the book of
I
Joseph?
know,
Like, you know.
right? And technically on the books, on the paper, on the job description of being a prophet, yeah, this gets carried down. And
There we
yet
go.
he's the only one who has been able to do this and has daily communion with God and can write it down word for word that God told him to do this. That's what the Doctrine and Covenants is all about, is
Mm,
his daily communication with God. Now, I wanted to remind you. So earlier this week, I sent you some images.
hmm.
And what was your first instinct when you started to see these symbols and images from the papyri?
Anyone that's watching will be able to see it.
Okay, cool.
Um,
I'll answer my own question. The first instinct that you had was
so
like, oh, this looks like Abraham killing
yeah,
Isaac
so that was the
and
first
or
one.
sacrificing Isaac. And so
Yes.
I found that fascinating that that was your first response
Hmm.
because obviously when Joseph saw that,
Hmm.
that's where his mind
That's
went
exactly where his
to.
mind went. Yes.
You and Joseph Smith went to the exact same place.
Yes, our brains. Well, that's because of obviously what we've been conditioned by, right? And then the second one, I see the second one was kind of like the same thing,
Hmm.
but I kind of understood. I just saw that okay, this is definitely Egyptian mythology. I think this has to do with so I see like Horus, I see Isis. But yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah.
You're right. Like that's where my mind would go. Yeah.
And so obviously that's where his mind went
Hmm.
and then he expanded it and whatever. So I found your honest reaction very true to what many would have been thinking upon seeing it for the first time.
Mm.
And so there we have it. But we have these actual images, right? Unlike again those golden plates. And so now so he took it and he even tried to draw in the missing pieces, which we have now been able to say, yeah, that's not correct. And then he took from these
Wow.
symbols and created this doctrine. Now we have Egyptologists that can clearly say it's all wrong. He didn't even get one thing right, and it's all wrong. So what does the church do
Okay.
now? That's the predicament that we find ourselves in. Now we know, unlike the golden plates, that this work of translation isn't accurate. So, what do we do with this? What's the fallout? So, the gospel topic essay introduces two theories. Okay. Theory number one, maybe Joseph translated from missing scrolls that we don't have.
Ah, the ones that were burnt in the library as well, in the museum as well.
Possibly.
Possibly. Hmm.
But here's the problem, the pieces that we do have that he directly indicates in the writing is wrong.
That's also wrong. Oh boy.
So, do you understand? Sure, there might be some missing, but the ones we have, he got wrong.
Damn.
So, that theory falls apart the minute it steps out of anybody's mouth.
Right.
It's,
So if I look at the image again in
yes.
context, I guess the correct way to interpret the first image would probably be given that these were instructions about how to carry out a funeral rite for someone that has passed away. The body that is laying on there and then the person that's standing there holding whatever they're holding is kind of like an embalmment process about it on a dead body, to prepare it for funeral or for
Yeah.
burial. That's
Yeah.
pretty much what that is.
If you want to, in another podcast, if this is of interest to anybody, I can go image by image and explain what Joseph said it was versus what Egyptologists say it is.
Hmm.
This has
I mean,
all been scrutinized and documented, so it's very, very demonstrable that he had no idea what he was talking about.
I was hoping that it was one of the things that we would be able to touch on. I'm curious about many things, right? I'm curious about,
Yeah.
is the Book of Abraham about, right?
Okay.
What did
Yeah,
he say
absolutely.
these
Yeah.
images were, and what does Egyptologists actually say what they are? Let's keep
Well,
going.
let's explore it. But let me just keep presenting this foundation and then
No
we'll build
worries.
off of it with more. So then the other theory that is brought up, since that one falls apart, the minute it's said, is that maybe the papyri were just a catalyst that inspired him to receive
Oh
revelation.
my God. That's the worst
But
one.
again, the problem with that is he states the claim that he makes is that Abraham wrote this with his own hand.
You can't get
So,
away from that.
yeah, you just can't.
Yeah.
That,
And this wasn't inspiration. This is, he
no.
stated as though it was a factual thing. It
Yep.
wasn't
And
something,
he
yeah.
over and over and over again claimed to anybody that challenged him that he was translating it. He didn't say that this was just a feeling and inspiration and this is what this document communicated. He
Interesting.
was saying that he was doing letter by letter,
Mm-hmm.
character by character
Mm.
translation,
Okay.
and that this was written by Abraham's hand, who wrote in King James English or in that style. And there you go. So,
Okay.
for faithful members hearing this, we face a faith crisis. The question then comes to the surface of, if he got this wrong, how do we believe that he got the Book of Mormon right? Or is he making both of them up? A lot of
Mm.
people call the Book of Abraham the smoking gun.
Oh, wow.
And for a lot of people, this is the last straw. This is the last possible thing that they have.
Okay. So I want to understand how impactful this is, right? So I want
Yeah.
to understand what the Book of Abraham is to Mormons. Like, why is it important? What, I know that you mentioned Kolob and other things as well,
Yeah.
but how is it important to Mormons for it to be the smoking gun? Like, what is in the Book of Abraham that makes
Yeah.
it the
Yeah.
thing that says, okay, this is a huge blow. If this is not true, then how can I trust the Book of Mormon, right?
Yeah. So the biggest issues are the theological innovations that come from the Book of Abraham
Okay.
that are very, very much impactful
Mm.
of the day-to-day of a Mormon. There's also a racist legacy that is
Ah,
extremely impactful. This ties into why blacks were barred from being in the temple.
okay.
There's a lot of harm that's in the Book of Abraham. I mean, that's my next question is, why is the Book of Abraham the smoking gun?
Ah,
And
okay.
here's the thing. It's a checkable claim. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, with the Book of Mormon, like I was saying, we don't have the golden plates. Believers, on the other hand, can always argue you can't prove they weren't real with the Book of Mormon, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But with the Book of Abraham, we do have the papyri that Joseph used, and we can read them. Egyptology is a solid, well established science today. And when the papyri say something completely different, there's no wiggle room for that. Okay?
It's
Then,
falsifiable. Yeah.
exactly. And then we have Joseph's own words where he does not say that the papyri inspired him. He says over and over that he was translating the writings of Abraham by Abraham's own hand upon papyrus. That's concrete, it's testable, and it's a claim that fails.
Mm.
Okay. The facsimiles are wrong. Okay. That's the third thing that I wanted to point out.
Right.
So he published three facsimiles. I sent you two of them.
Right.
And he gives these detailed explanations of them. Egyptologists unanimously confirmed that they're all wrong. And this is not even a matter of interpretation or of faith, it's just demonstrably false. There's no room for apologetics. If you read the gospel topic essays, they're scrambling. They admit that both non members and members who are in linguistics, they all say that this is wrong, that this is not correct, not even close.
Oh, wow.
And so the missing scroll theory, it doesn't work because the fragments that match Joseph's translation manuscripts, all of it doesn't work. The math just isn't there. The catalyst theory, it contradicts, like we've said,
Mm-hmm.
Joseph's own statements and in the canonized heading. And then every apologetic defense collapses under scrutiny. then we've got the ripple effects. If Joseph couldn't translate Egyptian, why should anyone trust that he translated the golden plates correctly?
That is going to be the thing. And also, even if you don't hold on to the golden plate ideology, how do you trust that he was in fact reading words from the peepstone in the hat
Yeah.
and he was
Yeah.
quoting them accurately, if there were words
Right.
coming up? Yeah,
And the bigger issue is, Evans, it exposes a pattern no matter how you look at it.
yeah.
Even if you're still believing, now we have doubt.
Now you've allowed the devil to deceive you, Ali.
Hmm.
You've allowed the
Yeah.
devil inside.
It's definitely cracked the image of this perfect boy that God hand selected to restore his
Wow.
church. We've got multiple visions now. We have him not even getting his own story straight.
Yes.
We then have a Book of Mormon that is anachronistic, that nobody would be speaking that way. So that causes you to pause and wonder on that accuracy. But now we take it a step further, Evans, with this papyri that, oh my goodness, I am certain the Mormon institution would have loved for them to have been blown up in flames in some disastrous fire, but they weren't.
Yeah.
And they were found, and now we know.
Wow. Wow. There definitely is a shameful pattern
Yeah.
that people will have to contend with. And I can only imagine how that feels as a moment when you discover these things and you are
Hmm.
presented with the choices again. The life, life presents you with that choice. Are you going to be a charlatan or are you going to be truthful? And
Yeah.
then some people choose to become charlatans and some people choose to become
Hmm.
truthful. And then the moment you choose to become truthful, you get the doubt and then you probably exit
Hmm.
the community and then you are accused of not being with us this whole time anyway. Well, you were never one of us
That's
anyway.
right. Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, you were trying
Yeah.
to be honest and truthful and you had
That's
no
right.
choice but to
Yeah.
accept what you've been shown. Yeah.
Well, and then the harassment that people like me get is
Hmm.
leave the church and leave it alone.
Yes.
Why do you
Don't talk
have to
about it.
do this?
Yeah.
Why do you have to expose this? Why do you have to have a conversation about it? If you don't believe it, just walk, pack your
Just
bags and
shut up.
go.
Just leave it alone. Yeah.
That's right. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
I mean, on my day to day, I leave it alone. It doesn't,
I'm just going to stop you right there.
consume me.
I'm just going
Yeah.
to stop you right
What?
there and say you
Okay.
do not have to defend yourself as to why you should talk
Oh,
about it. Oh
well,
no,
thanks. Then
you
I will just
don't.
continue. Yeah.
Full stop. Let's move on. Just
That's
say
right. That's right.
people say that I shouldn't talk about it. I should just move on. Full stop.
Right. Yep.
Anyway, let's keep talking about it, please. Let's
Isn't that interesting, though? Isn't that interesting, though? Think about it.
Mhm.
Anybody wanting to censor somebody for having found out the truth?
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. That
Is
go.
that really where we're at in the
Yeah.
21st century?
It exposes what it stands for all along.
Yeah.
When I talk about Christianity, Christians say the same thing. Why are you still talking about Christianity? If you are no longer Christian, just leave it alone. Just talk about it. It's like, it's my favorite subject. That's the only
Yeah.
justification I need
Yeah.
and the only justification I will ever give to talk about any topic that exists under the sun,
Yeah.
and I choose to talk about this one for a very unholy amount of times, and that is not your concern. Okay. A lot of people spend their time doing crazy things like touching children in church places. I choose to talk about Christianity. If you think that is something that
Mhm.
makes you uncomfortable, maybe you need to look
Yeah.
at the prophets and the priests and the pastors that are touching children and spending their time to
Mm.
do that, and maybe talk about that. Maybe you need to look at them and say, why are you wasting your time doing this, right? Leave me alone and let me
Yes.
talk about my favorite
Yeah.
subject. How about that? You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
In a way that hopefully is going to help somebody else also not be deceived or give thousands of dollars to an institution that is profiting off of
Exactly.
the backs of their members. And so for me, that's why. But again, I don't need to
You
justify
don't
it.
need to
I
justify
completely
anything.
understand.
There we go.
So yeah, so let's talk about like why this is such a big deal though, because most of the hurtful doctrinal legacies of the Mormon faith come from the book of Abraham. Okay.
Right.
And so this is why it's a big deal. Okay. To answer your previous question.
Are
So
there any
the first,
examples? Yeah.
yeah, the first thing is the racial doctrine and the priesthood ban. The book of Abraham introduces the idea
Hmm.
that Pharaoh was cursed
Okay.
because of his lineage. Okay.
Hmm.
Early LDS leaders used this to teach that Black people were descendants of Cain and Ham and therefore unworthy of priesthood or temple blessings. So
How is
that
that?
is where it starts.
Ah, okay. So I guess the
You're
Pharaoh
Black
was
because of Pharaoh, and Pharaoh was the
how?
bad dude on the time of
But
history.
but I thought it was because of Cain.
But apparently, he was a descendant,
Who was the descendant?
the
Pharaoh.
Pharaoh.
Okay, so there were black people before Pharaoh then. So there were no black people before the Pharaoh? And then after the Pharaoh, then all of a sudden black people start appearing on the face of the planet?
Yeah.
So people existed on earth before black people also decided to side with Jesus in heaven and then because don't come on earth to be black? What? Did I
So the
just did I
theolo
just poke all the holes in it?
I think you did. And I think anybody that really gave it a critical analysis would have done the exact same thing. So
Because the
yeah, the
whole idea of
theological,
sorry.
yeah. No, no,
Sorry.
you're okay.
The whole idea of us
Yeah, I know.
me being black is because I sided with Jesus later on, and I didn't side with him straight away when he presented his path and Satan presented his path, and I was lukewarm in making the decision. I didn't
That's
go
right.
with the devil. I didn't go with
Fence
Satan.
sitter.
But yeah, I'm a fence sitter, right? So such a bad person, and because of that, even when I went with Jesus, I was lukewarm in doing that, and therefore I was allowed to come
You
to
came through a
Earth,
lineage
and I was
that,
turned black.
yeah.
I came
Hmm.
through a lineage that made that decision, and I'm
Hmm.
black. So
Yeah.
what has that got to do with Cain, and what's that got to do with Pharaoh? Because that decision was already made in heaven already. So what's that got to do with Pharaoh?
Stop poking
Okay,
holes in
I
the
will stop.
theology.
I'll stop poking holes. And also, what did Pharaoh
Yeah.
do? And also, which Pharaoh? You know, Pharaoh is not a name of a person, right? It's like king. You know,
Yeah.
it's like manager. Is who is Pharaoh? Who is manager? Who is king? Like which Pharaoh?
So this became the theological foundation for the priesthood and the temple ban on black members, which, as we
Hmm.
know, lasted until
1978. Okay.
when God changed his mind. Okay. Generations of members of African descent were excluded from full participation in the gospel, the marriages not being sealed,
Mm.
families excluded, men denied leadership and the power of the priesthood, all of those things. And even today,
Mm.
the verses remain in LDS scriptures with no one apologizing for them.
Wow.
And so, we talked about all those edits that have happened over the years. That was never edited out or clarified.
Wow.
And so there's that. But even in the Book of Mormon, like
Hmm.
I would love to do an entire podcast on the racism that is even found in the
Definitely.
Book of
Oh
Mormon,
yeah.
because the skin of blackness is given on the evil people in the Book of Mormon,
Yes.
which also is extremely racist. And it's basically communicating that a skin of blackness equals disfavor with God.
Yeah.
And so, my son, you are just by being born black, signaling to the rest of the world that you
That
come
you
from,
were bad.
yeah,
You're bad by
your lineage is
yeah,
bad.
your lineage is bad and you deserve whatever ill that befalls you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Arguably, this is the most hurtful legacy because it institutionalizes racism as God's will.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that's why it's so fucked up. And that's why the Book of Abraham, this is, I would say, is the number one most
Mm,
harmful thing that comes
right.
from
Right.
its teachings.
Right. Every time I learn this, I always imagine how a current believing Mormon reacts to all of this information. And I spoke to you about a few months ago about me going on social media, TikTok, and seeing this Christian live streaming. If you don't know, TikTok is an app that you can go live and just talk about ideas and with people and anyone that comes about your channel, they can just jump on and decide to have a conversation with you, or
Oh,
even
yes.
just
Yeah.
post some comments in there live, and they can see that and respond to it live, right? So I went to this, I saw this creator that I was scrolling through TikTok, and this creator came up and she said, I'm a Christian, I'm a Mormon, ask me anything. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I just typed in what happened in 1978. And then she saw that, and I know she saw that because she smiled, and then she ignored it. And then I
Oh,
asked her
wow.
again, what happened in 1978? And then she blocked me.
Oh, God.
She blocked me from my channel. And I'm like, okay, well, okay, so I wasn't rude. I wasn't,
Not at all.
I didn't berate her in any way. I wasn't derogatory. I didn't use any derogatory term. And also,
Yeah.
on my profile picture, you know I'm black. So,
Yeah.
you know the question is coming from a black man asking you what happened in 1978. You are a Mormon Christian on live asking, ask me anything with a nice smile on your face. And I'm like, oh, here's a nice Christian. Maybe she might answer my question. What happened in 1978? She smirks and blocks me. I'm like, well, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, even modern times, as a black person, how am I supposed to feel? And I'm not saying that every Mormon is the same way, but the moment someone tells me that they are a Mormon, I start to look at them weird because I don't know what you genuinely feel about me.
Mm.
The fact that someone can smirk and then
Yeah.
see that question and then block you,
Yeah.
what is going on in
Yeah.
your mind? What's going on in her mind doing that? And I don't know what you think. I am sorry. I don't know what you think about me in your behind your closed doors. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to paint a broad brush, but try to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
Try to prove me wrong because right now, the evidence that I have is crazy. Okay?
Yeah.
So, this is a letter from a black man. I don't trust y'all. There we go.
I think just like these patterns that I've been pointing out with Joseph Smith, I think there are patterns that we can very much see the evidence of that would give anyone
Mm,
the reason not to trust.
yeah.
And with what you've just said, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So I think that that's very true. And I can speculate and assume that the minute she saw that in her mind, she just saw a troublemaker. And what she meant by ask me any question is ask me anything that's faith promoting.
Of
Ask me
course.
anything that can help me bring you
Yes.
closer to Christ. Talking
Yes.
about a controversial subject that didn't impact me because I am an elite white lady is not worth my
It's not
time.
worth talking about. What do you mean? What happened in 1978? What? And she didn't even ask me what do I mean by that question. She didn't even ask, oh, what do you mean by what happened in 1978? She didn't. Didn't show any sign of curiosity, any sign of genuine interest in having a conversation with someone. She just went straight, delete,
Hmm.
remove, block,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
remove from my. And I'm like, okay, I know what's in your mindset now, at least for
Hmm.
that one person. So this is my
It's
experience.
very sad. And I,
Yeah. To
yeah.
me, it was just hilarious, but it just confirmed what she thought. But this is a question that I would definitely probe to anybody that comes to me as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This would be my one and only question. This would be what
Yeah.
happened in 1978.
Explain that. Help me
Help me
understand.
understand what happened in
How is it
1978.
possible? How is it possible for God to help Joseph translate this work and communicate these concepts?
Hmm.
At that time in 1835, he was trying to relay a very clear message.
Yes.
Why then would over 100 years later he change his mind on that?
Yeah.
Do I want to worship a God that wants to abuse a certain group of people for a time and
Well,
then change that?
well,
That's not a God I choose, at least,
I
to
mean,
believe exists.
that really is the Christian story, isn't it? Isn't that a Christian story? You know, God
Hmm.
creates man. I mean, at least from the mainstream Christian, God creates Adam, Eve, and this God loves them so much. And his first opportunity to demonstrate that he is patient, loving, kind, and forgiving, he chooses to curse them and curse their lineage forever. And then curses
Yeah.
women to be subordinate to men and make their desires belong to the man, and also curse them in child pains that is so grave that leads to a lot of women's death up to this day. That was his first opportunity to demonstrate that he was a father, and that's what he did. But he loves you.
Yes. So the divine right and hierarchy of lineage. So the text repeatedly emphasizes chosen versus cursed bloodlines.
Hmm.
Abraham is presented as a rightful heir to the priesthood blessings because of his lineage, while others are excluded. So the fact that Mormonism is so elitist and the stratus, the second anointing, like we're building off of all of these things, right?
Yeah.
And this is where
This is where
it's
it's coming
coming
from.
from. Okay.
Wow.
Okay. So all of that, this
Unbelievable.
reinforces the Mormon worldview that God values some families and some races more than
Of
others.
course. Yeah.
Converts not of Israelite lineage in their patriarchal blessings, which is a podcast in and of
Oh,
itself
wow.
to talk
Okay.
about a patriarchal blessing,
Yes.
because
Yes.
I have a patriarchal blessing
Ah. Okay.
that is given to me and has all these revelations for my life. Okay.
I
So
see.
anyway, if you're not of Israelite lineage, you're adopted into the house of Israel. And
Hmm.
basically the message is your worth before God depends on bloodlines, not your choices or your heart. So again, the stupid worthiness interviews don't even ask the question if you're a good person, if you are helping the homeless,
Mm.
if you are kind, if you have a good heart. It doesn't matter. Are you
Yeah.
paying the
There
church?
we go.
Is your bloodline right? Are you the right color, shape, and
Are you
size?
mudblood or muggle-born?
Do I need to get my
Oh.
13-year-old in here to fact check you to make sure you got that right? But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what is happening there as well. Then we have Kolob and cosmic elitism. Okay, what I mean by that is the cosmology, Kolob, stars, the governance of intelligences, that's all found within the Book of Abraham, creates a
Wow.
help
Hierarchical?
me, Evans, hierarchical universe with God's chosen nearer to him and others further away. Okay.
Wow.
It supports the idea of a structured, stratified eternity
Mm.
rather than one based on love or just goodness, like most Christians believe, you
Right.
know?
Right.
Okay, so again, this feeds into Mormon elitism. LDS members are closer to God than outsiders. Okay.
Hmm.
Then we have the premortal existence and foreordination. This concept is now being
Wow.
presented.
That's where it's
Okay.
from.
Yeah, so the Book of
Interesting.
Abraham introduces the doctrine that some spirits were more noble and great in the premortal life. This was used to justify why certain people were born into privilege, white, male, Mormon families, all of that, while others were born into poverty or cursed lineages or not Mormon families. Why is this harmful? Because it turns inequality into theology.
Yes. God ordained.
Yeah.
Mm.
Your life circumstances are deserved and based on this pre-earth performance.
Yeah.
So, like I said, for so long it was circulated that if you were handicapped, if you had a special need, this had more to do with your pre-existence than
Mm.
anything else, than just the fact that these things happen. And if you're a good person,
Mm.
you rise to the occasion and you take care of those entrusted to you that have those disabilities that are of no fault of their own, or
Right.
the color of your skin has really nothing to do with your worthiness.
Mm.
And if you love the same sex as yourself, that's not something that makes you less than
Mm.
or less worthy.
Boy, what an introduction. The Book of Abraham. Definitely very interesting. I really appreciate giving that story at the beginning so that I
Yeah.
get like a good picture as to as what happened and how all of these kind of like excuses are given by Joseph as to why it's relevant to him and how it all works. And then
Yeah.
building off a whole doctrine from that,
Yeah.
something that he couldn't read.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of Elder Cunningham level creativity.
And the consequences of that is that he canonized prejudice in scripture. And so there you go.
Well, I don't
And
know whether he
so,
canonized it, but he definitely
well,
did his
as the
own
Mormon
version of it.
faith, yeah, yeah.
He
Yeah, and the
definitely,
Mormon
yeah.
faith canonized it
Yes.
because it's part of our standard work. And so
Mm,
now we have inequality, racial exclusion,
mm.
the hierarchy, the strata structures,
Wow.
all of that now has been put into place. And then the Mormon Church takes it and canonizes it,
Mm,
and now we have it as authoritative scripture, and that is
wow.
extremely dangerous. That is extremely harmful. That's where we're at.
To create
And
an elite group of people, and then within the elite group of people, you create a more elite group of people that get the second anointing and get all these extra privileges. It's like,
yeah,
whoa.
yeah,
Yeah, that definitely is a lot of harm.
it's very wrong. So, yeah. So, I think this is a good place to stop for now,
I agree.
and we can continue to delve into this if you'd like, but this is a major watershed moment for the faith. 1967 became a liability when
Mm,
those documents, those papyri were found,
hmm.
and I don't think the church has been the same since.
Wow.
This really is something that even believing members have to wrestle with and take pause if they really want to engage with
I guess
the
I get,
truth claims of their
yeah,
faith.
I guess I've got another question, another good probing question for Mormons then when I come across them. Is that what is the Book of Abraham?
Yeah,
Because
there you go.
I'm really curious. I'm really curious what they would think or what they would say about it. Because again, I ask it because I want to know.
Yeah,
I am curious.
certainly.
I want to know what you think about it. Not as a gotcha, although it might feel like a gotcha, but no, I want to know how you are processing it, and that's what these comment section is for you guys to let us know if you're a Mormon, current Mormon, after you have insulted us. Just
Yes.
let us know what these things are. How are you wrestling with these things, right? Because
Yeah.
again, we really want to know what's going on in your head. Thank you very much, Ali, for bringing this to us because, oh man, there's so much to what it takes to make someone to build that theology into someone. Now, I can imagine as a kid going through all of this, listening to the songs, being taught about Jesus, being taught about all of these things on a light surface level, kind of thing, lightheartedness,
Hmm.
and then you
Hmm.
grow up, and then all of a sudden the darkness just like whoa, and then no wonder many people don't know about these things. Like many believing Mormons and attending Mormons probably don't know these things or have not been privy to this information, depending on what beehive that they found themselves in. I don't blame them because it goes down a dark path real quick when you finish singing the follow the prophet, follow the prophet. When you finish singing that, all of a sudden it's like, oh, and black people, and then it's like, oh yeah, at some point,
Yeah.
and then
Hmm.
now, and then it's like, oh, okay, shit, really, okay, and what do you do with that? Well, like
Yeah.
how is that working in your brain? Like how do you see your fellow black human being or your fellow human being that happens to be born of a black skin, and then you are conditioned to immediately have all of these layered, structured prejudice
Hmm.
against them, but not in a way that makes you like hate them, but in a way that makes you like, oh, you bad person. Oh,
Mm.
kind of like maybe one day is worrying.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's why I don't leave it alone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We are not living it alone. So, if you're subscribing based on the fact that you don't like us, please stay tuned. There's more to come.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
I want to
Thank
know
you, Evans.
more. Yeah, and
Yeah.
hopefully one day we can delve into. I really want to know what was going on in his mind and how he was coming up with these stories and
Yeah.
some of the stories. So maybe one day when we've exhausted a lot of these important facts, we can
Yeah.
delve into the craziness of the
Yeah.
some of the stories. Because
Yeah.
again, like I've mentioned before, I love the law.
I mean, if you take him as he really was, he was quite
Yeah, creative. Like this is
Yeah.
this is again, or
And
the
it's
cunning
like,
ham.
whoa. Like, imagine if he was born in our time. Like, to your point earlier, he could be the next J.K. Rowling. Like,
Yeah.
he could have completely created all of this, but we
Yeah.
could have all known that it was false and not
Yes.
made major life decisions based on
Yes.
what he was saying. So
Amazing.
yeah,
Amazing.
it is.
But yeah,
Anyway,
we
thank you,
hope.
Evans, for giving me this challenge to kind of hopefully bring to light some of these secrets, some of these controversies that nobody wants to talk about, but
Yeah. That's why we have this
are
podcast, and we
important.
hope that you guys have enjoyed today. And we will see you next time.
Yeah, bye.